Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, and then make predictions for next week's top 5. So let's get right on into it. Last week I predicted that number 1 would be Suicide Squad, number 2 would be Pete's Dragon, number 3 would be Sausage Party, number 4 would be Jason Bourne, and number 5 would be Bad Moms. And I got 3 out of 5 of my predictions right, so that's alright, but the ones I got wrong I'm actually kind of surprised by. So let's talk about it. Number 1 was, of course, Suicide Squad, but what's really interesting here is the drop. With Batman vs. Superman, everyone knows that on its second weekend it had a 69% drop, and it was Suicide Squad, it had a 67% drop, so just 2% lower than the drop Batman vs. Superman had. Suicide Squad making $43 million this weekend, and that's still really good for this type of movie. It just grossed $222 million domestically, and it surpassed its $175 million budget, and worldwide it is also doing extremely well. This movie's not failing as far as box office goes. It's just the drop really was kind of expected because it's the same thing that happened with Batman vs. Superman. A lot of people went out to see it on its opening weekend, but then after people kind of started to form their own opinions about it, not that many people went out to see it a second time. Like myself, I did not go out to see it a second time. I rarely go see movies for 2 times in a row. The only exception is usually Star Wars. But yeah, like even Marvel movies, I only usually see them once in the theaters. Like Star Wars was like the first time I saw it like 4 times in the theater. Like with Suicide Squad, I wasn't planning on seeing it a second time, but after actually seeing the film, I didn't even really want to watch it again on Blu-ray either. I probably will still get it because there's some fun to be had with it, but it was a really big letdown. But that's just me. Moving on to number 2 was Sausage Party. It actually did a lot better than I thought. It made $33 million this weekend, and that's only on a budget of $19 million. Kind of obvious because let's not kid ourselves here, the animation quality in the movie isn't perfect, but that's still really good for this movie. It was able to get its budget back on its opening weekend. It made a lot more than I thought it was going to, especially opening with a Disney film. More on that later. So good job, Seth Rogen. You made a movie that a lot of people enjoyed. Moving on to number 3, which is Pete's Dragon. This actually surprised me, not only because it's a new family film, but also because it's a Disney movie. So far with Disney this year, even Alice Through the Looking Glass, that made an alright amount of money, but Pete's Dragon, the opening weekend here, I'm a little concerned for it. It made $21 million this weekend. Now that is a little bit higher. If I remember correctly, that is higher than the BFG opening. So I'm sure Pete's Dragon will make a little bit more money than what the BFG did, but still, opening with this amount of money, it's a remake of a classic Disney film too, and only generating this amount of money on the opening weekend, that's a little concerning, right? However, it does have a smaller budget than most Disney films, I guess you could say, only having a budget of $65 million, but opening with 21, it's not that good. You had The Jungle Book earlier this year opening with over $100 million, and now you have Pete's Dragon, similar to that movie because it is a remake of a classic Disney film, and this one didn't even really do that well. I'm actually kind of shocked by that. Number 4 was Jason Bourne. This weekend it made $13 million, and that adds to a total of $126 million. Thank goodness it just crossed its budget of $120 million. I'm so thankful for that because I find this movie extremely underrated, and I think it's going to actually drop down a little bit more in the next coming weeks, which is kind of sad because I would have liked to see this movie make a lot more money than what it did, but it's still doing really good, like especially worldwide. It already got its budget back worldwide, but domestically it just did. I would have wanted to see this movie be the highest grossing in the Bourne series, you know what I mean? But, this is not horrible. At least it's better than the Bourne Legacy. And now we move on to number 5, which is Bad Moms. This weekend it made $11 million, and that adds to a total of $71 million, and it's almost quadrupled its $20 million budget. It just needs $9 million more dollars, and then they've done it, which is very good for this film. I have not seen it, though, like Pete's Dragon. Maybe I'll see it at some point. I know for sure I'm going to see Pete's Dragon at some point, but this movie, maybe I don't have the biggest interest in seeing it. I don't know, maybe when it pops up online. Anyways, number 6 was The Secret Life of Pets. This weekend it made $8 million, and that adds to a total of $335 million. Holy crap, $260 million away from its $75 million budget. That's very impressive. And for people wondering, why are they making a sequel to Secret Life of Pets? I'm concerned that they are making it because I found it mediocre, but I know why they're making the sequel because look at this money. This is a lot of money for this kind of movie. Anyways, moving on, number 7, Star Trek Beyond, a movie that's not making as much as it should, making $6,800,000 this weekend, and that adds to a total of $139 million. Now, that is quite disappointing. It's almost out of the top. It's very close to leaving the top 10 at the box office, and it hasn't even gotten its budget back domestically. That is a huge drop as far as the other Star Trek movies are concerned. Like, all the previous 2 Star Trek movies from J.J. Abrams at least got over 200 million. Even if Star Trek Into Darkness got a little bit lower than the first one, it still got over 200. Now, this movie doesn't even seem like it will domestically. That's kind of a bummer. I don't know if they're still going to be doing Star Trek 4, because apparently they're going to bring back Chris Hemsworth for that, but I don't know if they're going to do it now because of the US total, but we'll see. Anyways, number 8 was Florence Foster Jenkins, an independent motion picture that I actually saw today because apparently my dad and sister had no interest in seeing Pete's Dragon. I'm a little scorned about that. But anyways, it was an alright movie. More coming in the review. It made $6,580,000, and this is on a budget of $19 million, so this is an independent movie, so I'm sure that it'll probably get some word of mouth, and more people will probably go out to see it at some point. I'm not sure if it'll make a lot of money, maybe when if it gets nominated for Oscars, which I definitely could see coming maybe, but I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Number 9 is 9 Lives. Hey, 9 and 9. Who cares? It made $3,500,000 this weekend, and that adds to a total of $13 million. Only $6 million away from that $19 million budget, but everyone kind of knows it's not going to get there because it's 9 Lives. A movie where Kevin Spacey turns into a cat. Did you expect this movie to be a success? And finally, number 10 was Lights Out. This weekend it made $3,220,000, and that adds to a total of $61 million. Very good for this film. I'm so glad that it was here for a while. I really did enjoy this film, and I'm glad David F. Sandberg made a hit with this movie, and I can't wait to see what he does in the future, especially with Annabelle 2. So I give a round of applause to David F. Sandberg. Thanks for a really entertaining horror movie, man. Now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. Now I'm going to say number 1. This might be a stretch, but I'm going to say that number 1 will still be Suicide Squad. I think it'll be able to stick out the number 1 spot for just one more weekend. Then I'm going to say number 2 is War Dogs. I think, especially since the director has done the Hangover trilogy, which is some of the highest opening weekends for comedy films. And then he also did some other comedies that had high opening weekends. I think War Dogs will make a lot of money. I don't know if it'll be able to top Suicide Squad, though, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did. So I'm a little iffy on those, but I'm going to go with it. Then I'm going to say number 3 is Kubo and the Two Strings. Then I'm going to say number 4 is Sausage Party. And I'm going to say number 5 is Ben-Hur, that remake that I don't know who wanted, but we're getting it anyways. Anyways, what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below, and if you got your predictions right, you're going to get a shout out right now. Unless you didn't get it right, then whoops. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.